A blue whale rises through the darkness, releases a tower of warm breath into the air, and disappears beneath the surface again, from a boat. The encounter may seem almost silent. There is no complex melody drifting across the waves, and no obvious call that the human ear can recognize. Yet far below, the whale may be producing one of the deepest and most powerful voices in the animal kingdom. Its call vibrates through the water at frequencies so low that much of it lies near or beneath the lower limit of human hearing. We may stand directly above a singing blue whale and hear almost nothing, while underwater instruments hundreds of kilometers away detect its voice. The largest animal in history communicates through sounds that are almost too deep for us to perceive, sending long pulses and moans into an ocean that can carry them farther than any shout in the air. The ocean may look like an open and empty world, but acoustically it is filled with information. Light disappears rapidly underwater, after only a short distance. Shapes fade into blue and then darkness. Sound behaves differently. It travels through water more efficiently than it travels through air. And low-frequency vibrations can move across extraordinary distances. Temperature, pressure, salinity, seafloor shape, weather, and water depth all influence how far a signal travels. Under certain conditions, sound can enter a natural layer known as the SOFAR channel, where waves are repeatedly bent back toward the center of the channel rather than escaping toward the surface or the seabed. Once trapped inside this acoustic corridor, low-frequency sound can travel for hundreds or even thousands of miles while losing relatively little energy. In rare conditions, a sound produced in one part of an ocean basin may be detected far away in another. For an animal that often travels alone or with only one companion, this ability may be essential. Unlike orcas, blue whales do not usually move inside permanent, tightly organized family pods. They may gather temporarily where krill are abundant, travel beside another whale, or form a close relationship between a mother and calf. But much of their lives is spent separated from other members of their species by enormous distances. A blue whale may cross waters where no other whale is visible for many kilometers. Its world is too large for communication based only on physical proximity. Sound creates a social space far larger than sight. A call released into deep water may reach whales that the singer cannot see and may never approach closely. The message could announce the whale's presence, help maintain contact, contribute to reproductive displays, or provide information about movement and location. Scientists are still working to understand the exact meaning of many blue whale vocalizations. A hydrophone can record a call, and a spectrogram can reveal its structure. But humans cannot yet translate the signal into a precise sentence. We know that the calls are not random. They appear in repeated patterns, change according to behavioral context, and differ between populations. But the private meaning carried inside each sound remains hidden. Some of the best-known blue whale vocalizations are long, patterned sequences often described as songs. These songs are much simpler than the elaborate and constantly changing performances of humpback whales, but they can be repeated with remarkable consistency. A whale may produce the same units again and again, separated by regular intervals, creating a rhythmic pattern that continues for hours. Evidence indicates that the stereotyped songs are produced by males and are probably connected to reproduction. Although their precise function remains uncertain, they may advertise the singer's presence to females, communicate with competing males, or perform several functions at once. A blue whale song does not need to sound beautiful to human ears. At its natural frequency, it may be experienced less as a melody and more as a deep vibration. Some calls occur around 20 Hz. Near the lowest frequency, a young person with excellent hearing might detect under ideal conditions. Other components descend below that threshold. Researchers often speed recordings up several times before playing them to the public. Only then does the sound rise into a range where human ears can clearly hear its shape. What seems like a strange electronic groan in a recording may originally have unfolded as a slow, powerful pulse lasting many seconds. Atlantic blue whale calls, for example, have been described as narrow band moans around 19 Hz. While calls recorded in the Western Pacific can follow different frequency patterns and structures, the differences between these sounds reveal something extraordinary. Blue whales living in separate parts of the world do not all sing the same song. Populations in the Northeastern Pacific, Western Pacific, Southern Pacific, Atlantic, Antarctic, Indian Ocean, and other regions produce recognizable acoustic patterns. One population may use a long descending tone. Another may combine several units into a repeated sequence. Antarctic blue whales produce a patterned vocalization, often called the Z call, because of the shape it creates on a spectrogram. Several populations of pygmy blue whales in the Indian Ocean can also be distinguished partly through their characteristic songs. Researchers can sometimes identify which population is present in an area without seeing a single whale, simply by recording the voices moving through the water. These regional patterns are sometimes compared with dialects. Although they are not languages in the human sense, a blue whale does not speak English in the Atlantic and another language in the Pacific, but each population may possess an acoustic identity shaped by geography, social contact, and history. The whales are born with the physical ability to produce extremely low sounds. Yet the exact pattern they use is associated with the population to which they belong. A young male growing up within the acoustic range of other whales repeatedly hears the song used in that region. By the time it begins singing as an adult, its own pattern resembles the voices that surrounded it. This raises a mystery. Blue whales are not usually seen teaching songs directly. A calf does not sit beside an adult in an underwater classroom while each note is demonstrated. Learning may happen simply through years of exposure. A young whale travels through an ocean filled with repeated signals. Certain patterns return season after season. The whale hears them on feeding grounds, along migration routes, and perhaps near breeding areas. Slowly, those sounds become part of its own vocal behavior. Culture can exist without formal instruction. It can spread because individuals listen, remember, and reproduce what they hear. The song may also act as an invisible map of population movement, because calls can travel so far. Underwater microphones can detect blue whales even at night, during storms, or when the animals are too distant to observe from ships. Researchers place hydrophones on the seafloor, attach them to buoys, deploy autonomous underwater vehicles, and sometimes place temporary recording tags directly on whales. These instruments can remain underwater for months, listening continuously to a world that human observers could never monitor with their eyes alone. A research vessel may survey an area for several days without seeing a blue whale. The animals spend most of their time underwater, surface briefly to breathe, and can travel beyond the horizon before the next observation. A hydrophone does not need the whale to surface. It listens through darkness, fog, wind, and distance. Each call leaves a visible trace on a spectrogram, where time runs across the screen and frequency rises vertically. A sound almost inaudible to humans becomes a clear line, curve, or repeated pattern. By comparing these patterns, scientists can estimate when whales enter a region, how long they remain, which acoustic population is present, and how calling activity changes between day and night or across seasons. The calls do not occur randomly throughout the year. In many regions, singing becomes more frequent during particular seasons, often as whales transition away from intense summer feeding and move toward reproductive periods. A whale that spends much of the day diving and lunging into krill may call differently from one that is traveling steadily through open water. Some studies suggest that daily changes in song timing may even reveal shifts in behavior. Whales may sing more during certain periods of migration or increase vocal activity when feeding effort decreases. Their voices can therefore provide clues about what the animals are doing, even when scientists cannot watch them directly. Blue whales also produce vocalizations that are different from the repeated male song. In the eastern North Pacific, researchers have described several call categories, including patterned song units and more variable sounds, often called decalls. These calls may occur during social interactions and foraging, and they have been recorded from both males and females. Unlike the predictable rhythm of a repeated song, a decall may be shorter, more flexible, and used in a specific, immediate context. One whale feeding near another may call. A pair traveling together may exchange sounds. A mother and calf may also depend on contact calls when visibility is poor. This means the acoustic life of a blue whale is not built from one song alone. It includes long-range displays and shorter-range social signals. Some calls may be directed toward distant animals that never respond within hearing range. Others may be part of an exchange between whales swimming relatively close together. One sound can function like a broadcast tower, announcing a presence across a vast region. Another may resemble a voice used inside a nearby conversation. The blue whale adjusts its acoustic behavior according to what it is doing and who may be listening. But calling across great distances creates another problem. The singer cannot control who receives the message. Other blue whales may hear it, but so may predators, competing animals, and humans listening through underwater sensors. The call passes through layers of water, reflects from the seafloor, bends with temperature, and mixes with thousands of other sounds. Rain strikes the surface, ice cracks, fish produce pulses and grunts, earthquakes rumble through the seabed, ships add engines, propellers, and mechanical vibrations. The ocean is not a silent chamber. It is a crowded acoustic environment. For thousands of years, natural sound dominated this world. Today, many of the frequencies used by blue whales overlap with noise from commercial shipping. Large ships produce powerful low-frequency vibrations that can travel great distances. When many vessels pass through the same region, their combined noise raises the acoustic background. A whale's call may still exist, but it becomes harder for another animal to distinguish it. Just as a human voice becomes difficult to hear in a crowded room, the problem is known as masking. The signal is not necessarily destroyed. It is buried beneath competing noise. A whale may respond by calling more loudly, changing when it vocalizes, repeating signals, moving to a quieter area, or reducing communication altogether. Each response may carry a cost. Calling more strongly requires effort. Leaving an important feeding area sacrifices access to prey. Failing to hear another whale may reduce opportunities for contact or reproduction. Even when noise does not physically injure an animal, it can shrink the distance across which its voice remains useful. A call once detectable hundreds of kilometers away may become lost much sooner. This is especially significant for blue whales, because their natural social network may already be spread across enormous distances. After industrial whaling reduced blue whale populations, fewer individuals remained to produce and answer calls. The ocean became socially emptier, while shipping made it acoustically noisier. A whale searching for another member of its species could face the strange combination of fewer voice and more interference. The animal may call into an ocean filled with mechanical sound, but receive no clear biological response. Another mystery has emerged from decades of recordings. In several regions, the pitch of blue whale songs has gradually decreased over time. The same basic song patterns are still recognizable, but some components are being produced at lower frequencies than they were in earlier recordings. Scientists have proposed several possible explanations. Recovering populations may allow whales to communicate without calling as loudly, which could influence pitch. Changes in body condition, population density, ocean noise, social behavior, or reproductive competition may also play a role. Yet no single explanation has been confirmed across all populations. The whales appear to be changing their voices, and humans are still trying to understand why. The gradual shift shows that blue whale songs are not completely fixed. A song can remain recognizable while changing slightly from year to year. Imagine a note descending so slowly that no individual whale experiences the full transformation. One generation sings at a particular pitch. The next sings almost the same pattern, but slightly lower. Decades later, the difference becomes obvious in the scientific record. The population has changed its collective voice through countless small adjustments. This long-term acoustic history would be impossible to discover through visual observation alone. A photograph can show a whale's body, but it cannot reveal a song changing across half a century. Hydrophones preserve voices from animals that may have died decades ago. Researchers can compare those recordings with calls produced by whales alive today. The result is an archive of a culture written not in bones or genes, but in vibration. A single call can also reveal how little humans perceive of the natural world. Above the surface, we judge the ocean through what we can see and hear. A calm sea appears empty, yet beneath it, a blue whale may be communicating at a frequency outside our senses. Another whale may receive the signal far beyond the horizon. Several populations may occupy the same ocean basin while maintaining distinct acoustic identities. A migration may be underway in complete darkness, documented only by distant voices arriving at underwater microphones. Somewhere in the North Pacific, a male blue whale begins to sing. Its body may be 30 meters long, but the surrounding ocean is far larger. It releases a deep pulse that moves outward in every direction. The vibration passes through cold water, beneath waves and storms. Beyond the reach of sunlight, it bends through layers of temperature and pressure, enters a natural sound channel, and continues traveling long after the whale has moved away, hundreds of kilometers away. Another blue whale may detect the call as a faint but familiar signal. We do not know exactly what information it receives. Perhaps it recognizes the population's song. Perhaps it learns that a male is present somewhere beyond the horizon. Perhaps the sound helps define a route through an ocean without visible boundaries. Or perhaps it simply becomes one note within a chorus that has surrounded blue whales since before humans began recording them. At the same moment, a hydrophone on the sea floor receives the vibration. To a human listener at normal speed, the recording may sound almost silent. A scientist accelerates it, raising the frequency into our hearing range. Suddenly, the invisible signal becomes an eerie, descending moan. A voice that traveled through darkness for hundreds of kilometers finally reaches human ears, transformed by technology. But the version we hear is not the voice as the whale experienced it. We have compressed time and lifted the pitch. The original sound was slower, deeper, and more physical, a vibration shaped for an oceanic world rather than a human one. We are listening through a translation created not from language to language, but from one sensory reality into another. The blue whale is famous because of its size, yet its voice may be even more extraordinary. Its body makes it the largest animal on Earth, but sound allows its presence to extend far beyond that body. The whale can vanish beneath the surface while its call continues moving across the sea. For minutes after the singer has passed, the vibration travels outward, long after the animal has become invisible. Its voice remains. This is how an animal that often appears solitary can remain connected to a population spread across an ocean. It does not need to see another whale. It sends sound into the darkness and trusts the water to carry it. Each regional song becomes an acoustic signature. Each repeated pulse becomes evidence that somewhere beyond the horizon, another giant is alive. Humans may never fully translate what blue whales are saying. We may identify patterns, seasons, populations, and behavioral contexts without understanding the private experience behind the call. But perhaps the mystery is part of what makes the voice so powerful. The largest animal in history speaks through frequencies we can barely hear, across distances we can barely imagine, inside a world our senses were never designed to enter. Above the surface, the ocean remains calm. A blue whale takes one final breath and disappears. No visible trail remains behind it. Yet deep below, a low-frequency call begins spreading outward, passing through darkness toward listeners hundreds of kilometers away. The whale is gone from sight, but its presence continues traveling through the sea. In the world of blue whales, silence is often only a limitation of human hearing.